Let's fight. A very good evening to each and every one of you. Let's fight. Whether you guys are joining us on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, you got to put your gloves up, folks, and let's fight. It's time to go, folks. Pay the cost of admissions first, and then we shall proceed. Ensure that you share the live stream, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you're joining us from, at home here in Guyana or in the diaspora internationally. Let's fight, guys. We're ready to go. We got some stuff to discuss. It's confusion powder today. Confusion powder. All right, we're going to ensure that we share the live stream as well. And then we're going to start with the hot topics. And then we have Mr. Khemraj Ramjattan is going to be joining us this evening. And my God, some big punches compelled in this ring tonight. Who am dead? Badly wounded. Badly wounded. And so I'm ensuring that I share the live stream as well. And that I am good to go at my end, guys. That's what it's all about. Well, the phone apparently gave up tonight. I think it gave up. It taken its own sweet time. I think it gave up, folks. Good to see all of you, wherever you're joining us from. Wherever you guys are joining us from, we're going to make sure that all of you are locked in before we start going. Share the live stream, guys. Tag a friend. It doesn't cost us anything. You know, we're not asking you guys for any money, just to share this live stream, wherever you're joining us from. I mean, if you want to send us something to keep the show going, fair enough. Fair enough. We ain't going to refuse anything. But share the live stream, guys. I'm ensuring that I share it at my end as well. I want to share it a couple places, and then we're going to be good to go, folks. Watching to that magic number as we come on. Good to see so many of you already up and going. June Birch and Hazel King. The regulars, Melissa McFarlane and Shell Labumba, Diane Fordyce and Fitzherbert Jerick, Sharwin McCrae, and all the other folks. Let me make sure I give a share first before I start giving you guys a shout out, so that we can ensure that we are right where we need to be as well. And we ain't just pumping the scene, telling you to do things that we are not doing. So, guys, we encourage you, we ask you to share the live stream. Some of you are falling down on your commitment. You know, when you make a commitment, you got to stick by it. That is why some of you are in a lot of relationships, you know, you're not living up to your commitments. All right. Further, I say not. Let me ensure that we are good to go in a couple of places, guys, and then I'm coming right back with you. Let me just ensure. All right. Let me just ensure that we're good to go in a few places. And then I'm going to be right with you. Right with you. Good to see all of you up and moving. All right. All right, I might need to share a couple other places, and then we're good to go, guys. How are you doing? How are you doing wherever you're picking us up from this evening? Olive Phillips, Jersey in the house, Carmen Johnson and Lorraine Garnett. Good night to you. Onyx, good to see you. Good to see you, Onyx. Good to see you, Onyx. Duncan, Sandra Facey. You know, Onyx is one of our favorites. We love to hear his thoughts ever so often. All right. And let me ensure we are a couple of places, a couple other places, and then we're good to go. Let me make to the shore. We are on a couple other places, guys. All right. How are you guys doing? A very good evening to each and every one of you. All of my watches telling a different time. All of my clocks. I got a minute past, 6 minutes past. My Surface Pro saying 6 minutes past 2. My phone saying a minute past. I don't know where to follow. But good to see each and every one of you who are joining us this evening. I'm going to get through my hot topics. And then I want my guests. Guys, tag a friend. tag a friend. So many of you join us every night. And we ask you, we want more people to join us. And so unashamedly, I ask that you share the live stream, that you share your comments with us on Twitter, on YouTube, you retweet, you subscribe on YouTube, and let's get things going. Look how I dress up for y'all. Making sure I looking dapper for you guys, making sure my subjects agreeing with my verb took and came, folks. Good to see so many of you out, guys. Good to see so many of you. William Moore is joining us from New Jersey. I see Beryl Dainty joining me from Denhamstel, the beautiful Denhamstel. Passed through there just over the weekend. Wilson France is in the Hizza. Stephen Jarvis is also with us. Donna Rogers is with us as well. Desiree Smart Felix, one of our usuals, and Harry Bisnott, who says that it's a tremendous program and he recommends it to all and sundry. Thank you, Harry Bisnott. Thank you, dear, for your awesome comment. Desiree Simon Liverpool is with us as well. I think I even have my guest is with us also. I see Orwin Dawn. Oh my God, it's gone up so fast. He's watching us from LaGrange. Orwin Dawn Cook is watching us from LaGrange. Let's get through our hot topics very quickly, and then we're going to have my guest with us. Guys, again, it's great to see each and every one of you. Thanks for joining us in the ring. And let's get through some of these topics, and some of which I'm going to be picking the mind of my guest, Mr. Khemraj Ramjattan, leader of the Alliance for Change, the Honorable Member of Parliament. We're going to be asking his thoughts, and he's also Shadow Minister for Agriculture, and still gives a helping hand in public security as well, overlooking that ministry as well for the opposition, with the able Gita Chandan Edmonds. And so let's get through our hot topics this evening. As I told you as we were coming on, folks, today was like a confusion powder central. And that, in a simple word, could describe this whole administration. I don't think this government has had a good day since August 2nd, 2020. I don't think it has had a good day. And lots of it, really and truly, if I want to be fair to them, is as a result of the incompetent ministers that they have. It's confusion powder reigning supreme, folks. Everywhere you turn, it seems like they can't catch a break. They can't catch a break. These guys need a prayer service. They need something. But then they fired the chaplain the other day in the police force. So they're like prayers. So I don't know what you need. Honest to God, I don't know what is needing, but something is needing, folks. Something is needing. So let us start. So you have the Minister of Housing along with his permanent secretary went down to shut down this concrete operation in South. And this story just ain't adding up. This story ain't adding up. And I'm going to read part of it because it is so interesting. Right? It is an interesting story. When it passed interesting, it is so captivated and so on. It is interesting. So they got a hostile reception, according to Newsroom. A hostile reception when they went to serve the third contravention notice on this concrete plant, in which they describe as being adjacent to South Ramville. This concrete plant, and folks, things are adding up. You know, we had a social commentator, was it Laurie Alexander, who used to say when I was growing up, nothing unregular. Nothing unregular in this story. I gotta pull back a little because I need space. I might run off and jump kick somebody tonight. I won't fight somebody, folks. I'm so upset with what's happening. And so the minister went along with some officials from the ministry, the installed minister, Colin Crowell. And according to this report, I want to read a section of it for you. The government minister, who was accompanied by his public relations team and members of the media, was asked by Richard Shamlin, who became aggressive upon the ministry's entry, to leave the premises. This is private property, and I'm happy to meet with you guys, but we are not going to have a meeting if you don't ask the media to leave. This is according to Newsroom, right? Reporting what was said by one Mr. Richard Shamlin. It is time to leave now. No, 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 no. This is private property. Shamlin could be heard saying to Minister Crowell. Well, Shamlin got to be sleeping with somebody in the government. Who's Shamlin sleeping with? Because if Shamlin asking Crowell to leave, Shamlin got to be big. So my question is, who is Shamlin sleeping with in this government that hide and Crowell? That is what Newsroom is telling us. It is time to leave. No, 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 no. This is private property. Shamlin could be heard saying to Minister Crowell. Well, Shamlin probably recognized them as installed, so he's not having it. But again, I say, there is more on the epistle than in the matter. And if you don't know what that means, you're too young. Stay with the program and you're going to catch up. Guys, you want to share this live stream? No, 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 no. Some of y'all got to leave, you know. We got to get Shamlin to put some of y'all out of the arena. Because some of y'all want to come ringside, but you don't want to pay the cost. So Shamlin tell Crow, beat it. Yep. Confusion powder. But like this government only bad for some people. They only bad for some people. Shamlin said, Crow, you got to beat it. So who Shamlin sleeping with? Who know the files? Inbox. Moving on, folks. More confusion powder. The police force had an election today. The police force had an election. Right? For one position. 2 elections. I got the Khemraj coming out. He can tell me whether he can take on this case for an elections petition. I want to read part of the article, folks. Confusion powder. This government and see a good day since it come in. Confusion powder. Moments after the Gallup police force announced the results of its election that named Inspector Norine as the chairman for the Police Association, and this is according to Big Smith News, folks. I want to give the credit. Named Inspector Norine as the chairman for the Police Association. Another chairman emerged. They got spare chairmans there, or rather re-emerged in the person of previous chairman, woman Inspector Ford. Ford was re-elected as head of the Police Association following the second election in the same building where the first election was held. Woman Corporal Cadogan was elected as secretary. Woman Corporal Gittins elected as assistant secretary. Constable Samuel elected as assistant treasurer. It is unclear what has promoted or what prompted, the article is a little badly written, what prompted the redo of the election, right? What prompted the redo of the election, right? Which the association will recognize as legitimate and which one will be recognized as the bogus association. That is the question being asked. Which election will the association recognize as legitimate and which will the association recognize as a bogus? In the national scheme of things, the Guyana Police Force, this is according to the article, is tasked with ensuring law and order in the pre- and post-election periods when results and the will of the majority are not accepted by one side. In the case of the police and its double election that produced 2 chairs, who will maintain law and order is to be seen. Confusion powder, people. 1 post, 2 elections. The results are still out. So whether this is going to the High Court before Claudette and then to the Court of Appeal and perhaps to the CCJ remains to be seen. But one gets the impression that we're going to see a lot of bacchanal. Now, this is the police force, you know. This isn't some little grouping of people in some far-flung community. This is the police force. Remember the fire, the chaplain, right? The man said they're corrupt. The chaplain said they are corrupt there. And he was praying for them, right? Now, one election, one post, two election, and we know who is the chair of the association. This pastor was spot on. The man's spirit clean, the man was picking up the vibrations, right? He picked them up in his spirit and started to pray against what is transpiring there. And now we're seeing with our own eyes. So even though the article is a little badly written, thanks to Big Smith News for putting that piece out. More confusion, people. More confusion. I'm going to have my guest on in just a minute. More confusion. Confusion powder. Folks, I need a name for my Tuesday program. We got Pashway Monday. We got In the Diaspora Wednesday. We got Talk Back Thursday, Flashback Friday. I ain't got no name. No name for Tuesdays. Maybe it's Confusion Powder Tuesday. Confusion Powder Tuesday. So this now is with DDL and Pretty Paul. Big Pashway with big money there. Big Pashway, right, for a piece of land by the river. So DDL, a subsidiary of DDL, folks, is accusing Pretty Paul Singh, of being undemocratic and not abiding to the rule of law. Folks, very interesting what's happening. I want to read a section of this article. I think this came out of who this Newsroom. DDL said to Pretty Paul Singh, respect for the rule of law is a fundamental principle in every democratic society. You mean people under the installed administration of Irfan Ali not respecting the rule of law? Oh, this is strange to me. I thought it was a nice time for everybody. Respect for the rule of law is a fundamental principle in every democratic society. Right? And DCEL, which is Demwara Contractors and Engineering Limited, which is a subsidiary of DDL, will not be intimidated, that's what they're saying, by those who seek to disregard the law and resort to threats of the use of force to further their baseless objective in contravention of the ruling of a competent court of law. And I want to skip to the juicy part. It was the High Court who ruled in October 26, 2020, that Pretty Paul Singh Investment must give up possession of the property owned by DCEL by November 30, 2020. So apparently, Pretty Paul Singh, probably something that this guy had early on by the housing ministry. What's the fella's name? Richard Shamlin. Like he related to Pretty Paul Singh, because there's a court judgment that Pretty Paul Singh should vacate the land. Pretty Paul Singh said, fire upon the High Court. We ain't coming out. So Pretty Paul Singh has installed themselves by this piece of waterfront property, has installed themselves, folks. So that is what is happening at that end. And lastly, oh my God, I don't know what kind of bishop is this, but the bishop says removal of a whole swat of mangroves, and I guess he's going to tell us a little bit more about there, is necessary for development. He and K, money got for make, right? He and Shamlin Massey family, money got for make out Kroll, out Mangrove. So that is where we are, folks. And we're going to talk a little bit more about this fella later on. Next up, y'all ever see the movie Monsters, Inc.? I see it too. Moving on. Reliable sources, credible sources, folks, tell us this evening that this $400 million scanner that was recently installed at the airport by same one Egil and the acolytes, the installed crew, team installed, the same people who went to install the scanner at the airport, credible information is that the generator, the scanner is not working. Credible information suggests that the scanner that was recently installed by the install squad is not working. And so it's nice time at the airport, and we're following that. And finally, we are made to understand that Newsroom published this article today. Warumuri community gets first-time electricity with $12 million generator. That is what the headline reads. Warumuri gets first-time electricity with $12 million generator. Folks, the people at Warumuri said not one house is connected to the generator. That is what the folks at Warumuri telling us tonight. Not one house. Not some houses. None is attached to the generator. As a matter of fact, they say the generator is not working. And no house, no benab, no hut, no dark kennel is attached to the generator. We are following that, and we're going to have some more information for you. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to invite my guest this evening, the one and only, the one and only Mr. Khemraj Ramjattan I have joining me this evening. Welcome in the ring, sir.
Thank you very much, Sherrod. And I hope that you find a name for your choose your program. You're on fire here.
Suggest one for us. I'll be grateful. Members of
I'll have to give it some thought.
Well.
I probably can come up with a better answer after I'm finished.
Great.
With you here.
Khemraj, leader of the Alliance for Change, Member of Parliament. I know yesterday you were with a team at the Mangrove site in the Demerara River there, where you have Malgatu and Versailles. A huge swath of land by this private company. All of the mangroves have been removed. And LGO tells us that more will be removed. Mr. Ramjattan, I know that, mangrove conservation perhaps is not your forte, but tell us what are the importance of mangroves to us?
Because we are beneath sea level in this coastland of Guyana, which has about 75% of the population and all the arable lands that can be cultivated, mangroves provide the best source of sea defense, both riverine and against the ocean. And although we have long sea walls and all of that, the mangroves provide more benefits because you do have, as a result of it being vegetation, you have flora and fauna, you have the fishes that can be there, so many things that come with a bonus as against just prevention of flooding as a result of mangroves. And then they also, I understand, take in about 4 times the amount of carbon dioxide. So there is a tremendous benefit having these forests on our coastland for all those reasons. And to have a large swathe of this being destroyed simply because Bishop Edgehill and his acolytes, and right up to the president, would have indicated that development is more important, I think they have gotten their priorities misplaced, and especially the procedures for the destruction there. So it is on the basis of 2 things: the actual destruction of mangroves in an area where the trade winds that come to Guyana would normally have that current washing that bank of the river with more ferocity.
Yeah.
Oh, that is the West Bank,
yeah.
right?
Yes.
And as against the East Bank, and the trade winds would come in, and that is far more vulnerable, a coastline. And to get the sea defense, the Mangrove Committee under the Ministry of Agriculture, the NDC, like it's everybody who
Yeah.
apparently did not want to say anything. They wanted to turn
No objection. No
away.
objection. No
Absolutely.
objection.
But
But
I
I
believe
was
that
very, yeah.
I believe
Go
it
ahead.
came from the instructions, the control freak. You know him. I know him very well. So he probably was the one that would have indicated to all these authorities, this is big investment. Then he gets Bishop Edgil to go and be the mouthpiece for that. And that is why, quite frankly, as I made a statement on that boat that we went with to that shoreline, to Nazima Ragabir and them, it is basically to bypass all of these authorities, and especially the EPA. And that is one of the reasons why Vince Adams was gotten rid of. Our
But you
executive.
need quality people. You
Yeah,
need quality people like Vince Adams because, this guy from Beaton, the defense board, the defense board chair, this
yeah,
guy was involved in a lot of stuff. He was a guy who was, fingered with Westford, the ministry there, sale of government vehicle, a whole set of corruption. Now he's back there, the Sea Defense Board, and the Sea Defense Board that should be looking out for the interests of the Guyanese people and not the administration offers no objection. And then one Ejil, who wants to be a billionaire in this country, says money got to make. Guyanese, flap y'all in Region 3, flap all of y'all. Money got to make. Khemraj, I want to look to Starbuck News because Starbuck News walked us through today the legal underpinnings of mangrove conservation in our country. And I use Starbuck News because they are fairly independent, even though they lean a little bit to the government. I don't want to use Village Voice. People say we bias. I don't want to use, I'm certain Starbuck News consulted its attorneys. I don't want to use Rice Dale. They can say we bias. I don't want to use you. So let's go to what Starbuck News said. A suite of laws they presented to this nation that all say that the destruction of these mangroves is illegal. So how can you have a government who is going against the laws of this country and then they want to preach to us about constitutionality and respect for the rule of law? What madness is this, Khemraj?
well, it is utter madness, and it is bizarre. It is totally reprehensible. I was there in Parliament when they passed. I think it was in 2010, and I think the Starbuck News reporter indicated it was 2010. We supported that forestry law amendment act in which mangrove destruction was a criminal activity now. And it was all in keeping with Jagdeo's low carbon development strategy. And we were strengthening all around the place the forestry law, sea defense law, a number of mining arrangements. I think around that time we also had some amendments to the Mining Act and all of that. So there it was, under a major policy to go green, as it were, or low carbon at that time. We strengthened the law in relation to mangroves. And we knew, and the Jagdeo administration at the time also knew, that indeed this is a vital aspect of our sphere of activities, that we had to get them changed. What we see, and has always been the case, like so many constitutional reform, you remember, like public procurement commission,
Yeah.
government elections. This government loves to pass law and then don't adhere to the law. And
But Khemraj, is this the duplicity of the people? I know you understand the nature of the beast, and you understand the psyche, the madness of Jagdeo, because this is a guy who said he didn't want no third term, he want to go on farm and write book, but then he bring a case to give himself a third term. You're strengthening the mangrove laws,
Yeah.
and now you come now and are trying to appease business and don't bother with them laws. Business. What
That's
madness
correct.
is this?
That's correct. And he is in charge. Literally, he runs the country. And he would have told Bishop Wanejil, go and tell them that we want development. We're going to create employment. Employment, my foot, in relation to an area like that. And then the process. How you could have even Beaton now saying that we did give a certain set of permissions, but not permission to cut all of that mangrove. And this
Beaten out of tune and out of touch. Beaten got to beat out because Edgel says more will be cut. So how Beaton could say we didn't give, permission for so much to be cut when Edgel comes back and say more will be cut?
Well, it shows their cleverness in inverted brackets here, or their mischief is unfolding, and that is what is happening. So you will have contradictions now coming from a variety of quarters. But let me say this: it is that EPA, that premier institution, that very privileged body, that we must have very good people, competencies there to ensure that there is an overarching scrutiny that can come from especially that quarter. And this is how they're going to do the thing. They're going to tell the NDC officials, whosoever they are, just allow the thing to happen. When we went there, I used to pass there when we were going up to Bartica and all the other places that we got our outreaches. And there's a long line of zinc sheet. So I thought there was merely construction just behind the zinc sheet.
I was hiding the corruption.
Yeah, they were covering up in the like in the darkness. They wanted to do this destruction of the mangrove behind those zinc sheets. Mm-hmm. That is why a lot of people didn't notice it before. But we understand that this public-spirited citizen, Johnson, his name is, I think, from the area, came up and made the thing public, and that is how we managed to get it. So, yeah. All of these arrangements that are configured in law are now being violated. And as I have said, this is what the dismantling of all the guardrails of our democracy, all the guardrails of our administrative arrangements. And it is literally what is called authoritarianism, totalitarianism now. What Jagdeo and Bishop Edgel wants, they will get.
Listen to Sabbath News again on this issue. Sabbath News offered a page one comment, and when you make a page one comment, it's not for good reason.
Yeah, well,
page one comment, Sabbath News. For as long as these parts have been inhabited, a frenetic battle has been waged with the sea to protect the coastline, in which self-propagating mangroves have played no small role. This struggle is likely to become even more desperate in the context of climate change and rising sea levels. It is therefore incomprehensible that the Minister of Public Works, One Edgel, they didn't even bother to call him Bishop, One Edgel, speaking on behalf of the government, can venture to say that the decimation of a swat of mangrove at Versailles, Malgrove, on the west coast of Demerara, is an acceptable casualty of the quest for development, and that more acreage face a similar fate. Another part of the article says, the page one comment, no investor who furtively descends on the country and removes mangroves in a manner that jars with key pieces of legislation and the gigantic enterprise to hold back the seas should be openly welcomed. That the main investor hails from the West Demerara is shocking, particularly in the light of the fact that President Ali himself grew up not too far from this area. Probably that's why he's selling it out. Khemraj.
That is an extremely critical piece on this administration, and it was beautifully articulated. I like the way it is put over, and I hope that there can be some apology in relation to their machinations of wanting, on the ground of development and jobs, to go do that destruction to our piece of Guyana there. That is what it is. And all the more because of climate change. All the more also because we sign on Paris Agreement, Convention against climate change and what we will do and all of that. We subscribe to a low carbon development strategy in which we are seeking to get monies out of, eco projects.
Yeah.
And now you're going to...
environmentally friendly projects. Yep.
Yeah, eco-friendly projects. And then you go in and do that. And against the law, the actual law, Forestry Law Amendment 2010. Criminal.
It is absolute madness. Now, Khemraj, I want to turn your attention to the police force. I know folks are saying, bring back Khemraj. They make a hullabaloo about the 2 a.m. curfew, but we probably they're holding back so much. Bring back Khemraj. What is happening in the police force? We see the Police Force Association. Let me get the right name for it. I don't want to misquote them at all. This is the Police Force. What is the name of it? Yes, the Police Force Association. You know, one post you electing for, you got 2 elections happening, producing 2 different chairmen, right? I mean, just
I think it
last
is a
month we were
combination
talking
of the
about all of the excesses, the court cases, the fighting for position, the money that missing $300 million. I can't recognize the police force from 9 months ago. I can't recognize them.
It is an embarrassing development and very unfortunate. I don't know if it's COVID-19 and elections 2020. One is 19, one is 20. That is causing this thing. But I rather suspect that there is tremendous, what do you call, disharmony in an organization that has to be very harmonious. And it is not a nice thing at all. Elections within the police force for that association, and then you having one person, Narayan, getting elected, and then immediately after somebody else getting elected. It does not bode well for the cohesiveness of the force and the hierarchical structures that one would have appreciated from a disciplined service. It is utterly embarrassing what happened there. And I rather suspect it might be interesting if we can get the chaplain to do an investigation so as to see whether he too might have to do some prayers on this one. But I would hope, being minister before, that this thing is resolved quickly so that it can pass on into history rather than be on the news all the time. It's not a nice thing.
Perhaps the chaplain has learned his lesson and he's going to keep quiet. Once bitten, twice
he
shy.
has to pray. That is his function there. He has to pray and give spirituality to all these branches, whether it's the main one, the commissioner's level, or the police association's level. I think Pastor Dooley Chan should go in and do something there.
Great. Let's turn our attention to COVID. Now, you've had your vaccine. I have had my vaccine. There are some people who are still skeptical, but we've seen the death rate every day, more deaths, increase in COVID-19, the very lax attitude of the government in terms of these restrictions and protocols in enforcing them. And, to see the installed president come out and say that Guyana is open for business. Open for business when you got more deaths than Trinidad, who shut down trying to pull back and rein back COVID. We open for business. Airports open, ports open, borders open. Y'all come. Are we selling and exporting COVID-19?
It might be a little biting commentary here, but it does appear that not only is history a subject that the president is unacquainted with, but also investment and business. This is not a time basically to urge about those things. The priority in Guyana now is to save lives. Save lives. We have gone to how much? 300 and almost 30?
Yeah. 4 more deaths today.
Yeah, and when you do the comparison as against other Caribbean countries, we are the worst in relation to how many dying and also how many people are unvaccinated thus far, notwithstanding the fact that we have a lot of vaccines. Also, the amount of cases, positive cases that we are having. And then, of course, a country that lines itself with borders from Brazil, where there is an extremely deadly and a more ferocious virus variant that Dr. Somar so eloquently told us about. And even in your program here, we are in a danger zone. And that is why I was very happy when Mr. Dr. Frank Anthony, good friend of mine, called us up New AFC, and myself, Annette Ferguson, and Dr. Cummings went there. And we started giving some suggestions as to how to deal with this thing in an out-of-the-box way. So many foolish reasons are being given as to why people don't want to be vaccinated. And the country, because of this crisis, is having tremendous hardships. People from Port Morant and Albion and Skeldon have been calling in. People from number 19 village. I talked to a woman only recently. She came to my home here, and we spoke. She's saying that almost all across this country, because she went to the airport and she had some family at East Bank, they're crying out.
Yeah.
We need relief. I
Yeah.
understand some 5 billion Trinidadian dollars are going to be given for relief to their citizens. We got 326 million US dollars in the Federal Reserve Bank. We got a certain fund from which it could be extracted out, withdrawn for purposes of telling Guyanese that we can have a better day with a further 50,000 each or whatever it is. Because you take out a 10, 15 million dollars there, that's emergency monies. It can multiply to the effect. But what we do, because of the vaccination hesitation, I told the minister there, think out of the box and ask people if they would, make it mandatory that you want the COVID relief, you got to be vaccinated. Those who have already been vaccinated, they show the card, they will get their monies. This now is a conditional thing. Everybody, all the people, the Amerindian brethren, the Afro-Guyanese, the Indo-Guyanese, certainly will want the money, and they will come forward because they know that it is, a good thing, the vaccination, after you would have spoken to them there, and plus they're getting the $25,000 or their $50,000, I prefer, some more. And that is also going to take care of them. The other out-of-the-box thing that I mentioned to him was that when you catch people who are violating the COVID measures and they're convicted, as part of the conviction, rather than you give them a fine or you give them what is called community service, you tell them that they will go home if they take the vaccination, if they have not yet been vaccinated. A lot of them will take the vaccination, and that will bring the herd immunity faster to Guyana by virtue of that. But you know what? Jagdeo them don't want to go into that Natural Resources Fund Act for purpose.
Tell us why. Tell us why.
Because it has three bureaucracies, literally, made up of non-politicos who will then have the authority to take out that money. A portion will be there for the next generation, I think about 40% or whatever. But from the 60%, if that committee made up of non-politicos then indicate that, look, this COVID relief is a special emergency situation that we must help our Guyanese with, they could then authorize that Parliament now go and take that money out. Then there is a public accountability committee that could set up the whole arrangements for ensuring that that money is properly delivered to the citizens of Guyana. Not like what happened with the first COVID relief. You understand? And then you get another committee that is going to further scrutinize the whole operations. And of course, the fourth one is Parliament approving it. Well, we in the opposition are willing to support taking monies out from there. But what Jagdeo wants, he wants not to have those bureaucracies controlling it. Them want to control it. He and his set of ministers there, Ejil and Ashni Singh and all of them. And that is why they don't want to go there. But Guyanese must know that in this time of tremendous economic crisis, we have a place there we can go and get the money, and for a good cause, for an earlier herd immunity. Important point. Earlier herd immunity when you incentivize the taking of the vaccination. And that is what sometimes these people don't understand in the government of the day. And that is why we are having all manner of disasters now and debacles in relation to this COVID. And it is going to only get worse. It is not going to get better. So your best thing you do is to help Guyanese with the monies, but also help the vaccination of Guyanese.
In that submission, Khemraj, you talked about how Guyanese are hurting. And this is a post I saw on social media. One guy named Javid Khan. And this is what he said. He said, East Kanji hire car drivers protesting for an increase in fares. Current fares stand at $100. $100. They're asking for the new fare to be set at $160 for short drops and $200 to go into town. I guess this is wherever town is there. Right? One, Lakshmi Singh says, so what is the PPP government doing? The cost of everything is going up. People have kids to take care of. The government needs to be looking into this. Right? The government needs to be looking into this. That is Lakshmi Singh. Everything going up. I say that to say, what is happening in East Kanji Berbice is what is being felt in Linden. 2 months after we passed the budget in March rather, public servants haven't received anything as yet. They said the money was in line item 6141. Yeah. No money as yet. People are feeling the crunch. And I remember Khemraj in Ashley Singh's longest budget presentation ever, for the biggest budget ever, he kept stressing economic dynamism. The man in the street isn't feeling this economic dynamism yet. What is happening?
There's not no dynamism. It's very static, and there's absolutely nothing forward moving about it at all. If it's anything, it's retrogression and reversals. And but you know, this government has always banked on the greater the lies, and it does have a set of people around it that could even emphasize those lies to their supporters and feed them that kind of lie, and a number of them would believe. But they themselves now appreciate that indeed, you know, the things that we did initially for COVID, the longer hours of curfew. We didn't have a total shutdown. There might have been 2 villages or so in the region, I think an interior region, that we had to lock down because of the thing was growing out of place. So we had to do that. But also the hospital that we built at Liliandale there from that hotel that was left, you know, derelict. That is an institution and a structure that we must be now proud of.
Yeah, but very, very forward thinking. Very, very forward thinking.
Exactly.
Thanks to David Granger and Paul Lawrence.
Yeah, and one set of costs we get for that, you know?
Oh, yes. Anthony came in, he said it was a shell. He said it was a shell. He said it was overpriced. It was this. It was a shell. And then 2 weeks later, he moved in and said to patients.
Yeah, and you know,
he said it's a shell. Sorry to talk about your friend.
330 dead, and we might get lots more, probably around that figure, continuously dying again. You know, and this is.
But Khemraj, I thought for this administration, India would be the example. India is producing COVID-19 vaccine and being overrun. See, imagine us. They had hoped the vaccine would be the end all.
Yeah, right. But that's a different kettle of fish. I don't want to enter that arena at this stage with you and do some fighting there. I have to be cautious because that is unfortunate, the development there. Yeah. But there are some similarities, and the similarities.
So the point I'm making is we cannot just bank on vaccination without the clamping down and the enforcement of the regulations. That is the point I want to make.
That's correct. That is so true. I see similarities in that. And so you could be one that got a lot of vaccine, like we got right now in the country, another 34,000 today and so on. But what's the use? If people now not taking it, and then they're going around their business as if it is everything normal, the enforcement is not there. And then the education, some of them not being educated about it. They got reasons still, don't know nothing. We had started off of 4 E's: engage, educate, encourage, and enforce. And all of that was laughed at, buddy. I mean, but you know, it is not a laughable matter.
Yeah.
It, a
Yeah.
number
Who
of
laughed
Guyanese
last?
here
Laughed the loudest.
did. Yeah, we cannot. And so we have to help. And I told the minister that I am willing to give as much support as possible. And I think we all must, because this is a Guyanese problem. What I would like to see also,
Khemraj, why you want to help these people? Why you want to help
because
them? I don't follow you though.
because no, it is important that we all unite under certain issues. The larger population will see the misdemeanor and the felony that the PPP is committing by not wanting us to engage. And it will be to our political worth and also to our political benefit that indeed we take certain positions like that. And that is what I mean too. It is not, we must not help even in time. If Venezuela were to overrun us, we have to be united. If climate change is going to overrun us and our mangroves destruction is going to cause flooding to the same people that come from that area where the president come from, we must be united in the action that we take to demonstrably state that it is wrong. Okay? And that is what I mean by that.
Yeah. Khemraj, as we come to program time, I want to raise another issue with you. These businesses, and we love business, and business should thrive, free market and capitalism and all of that. But business people who would have helped this administration perhaps come to the seat of government and be installed seem to be emboldened for some reason. You have this large cement factory that seems to have sprung up overnight in South. Somebody must know how these guys got the land. Colin Crowell goes there to serve a cease and desist order to close them down because they received no approval from the central planning there, central housing and planning. You would want to say, is the control freakism at work here? The people chasing the minister out of their premises? Unheard of.
Well, that is an aspect of control freakism too, you know. One hand don't know what the other hand, the big hand, doing. And it's the big hand that's telling them to do these things. And you don't pass on that instruction to the smaller hands like Kroll hands. And you will have that because they encourage these people to go and cut down mangrove, go and build concrete cement factory or whatever on grounds that are areas that didn't have any of the permissions and so on. And they allow them and give them a spunks and say, well, I tell you, the man, you go along and do it. I's the bar.
What is jarring to me is that you have a single mother, Khemraj, who might try to put up a little 2x4 some way. Oh my God, they're gonna ill treat her. They're gonna knock her down.
Like they did
You
at
understand me? We saw that out of City Hall, the engineer's office, with some single mother. Quite recently, we saw that in central housing and planning. The success quarters are testament of that. But a big businessman who could chase y'all away because he got connections. You understand me? You're gonna need to. You're gonna bow down to.
That is
the inequity in the system.
That is the injustice of the inequality. And that is the injustice too. Look, when I saw Kroll there, I felt for him. I mean, you might be critical of me, why I'm feeling for these jagabats for. But the trouble is, here is a minister.
Young people will say you're too much in your feelings. You're too much in your feels.
Well, I happen to know all of them, quite frankly. But moreover, it was a good thing that the minister went there to serve the third notice of contravention. And if that is the way the fella is going to behave, then, all of us must be united to ensure that that fella see the light and the brunt of the law. He must be paying the penalty for that kind of contemptuous activity and action now when he served the contravention. And I understand there was even a court order too, isn't it? Some court
yes.
granted.
No, but the court order was with Pretty Paul, and maybe you can shed some light there with DDL.
Yeah, well, that's another one where these laws, the rule of law seems to have lost its way here, and especially with and
the tragedy is, based on what you were saying, based on what we're seeing with Pretty Paul, the disregard for the court. Harman didn't disagree recently with the Chief Justice as a person, as an individual, and the institution. He said, I do not agree with the ruling.
That is
Everybody come
totally in
out,
accordance with the rule of law. We
right?
politicians have every right to be critical of judgments of the court, and we must do it
Yeah.
respectfully. And I
Now
think
DDL is saying, Pretty Paul, y'all aren't abiding by the rule of law. A court of competent jurisdiction has pronounced in this matter, and y'all are moving. You understand me? So what you gonna tell this small man when he occupies a piece of land and somebody come and give you a notice? They must go running. So look what we're
exactly,
with
exactly.
Pretty
It's
Paul. Look what we're looking
discrimination.
south with the construction company. We taking
Yeah,
our cues from the big ones.
it is look like courses for different horses. So
Different strokes for different folks.
different, exactly. And that is not right. That is not the kind of democracy we want to build. That is not the kind of democracy that citizens are going to enjoy the good life. And so it is fundamental that we get all of these things right. It is going to be a big journey. We must, however, be critical of those that are being lawless, and especially the government too, if it is also behaving in an executive lawless fashion. Executive lawlessness is the term that is coined to describe them. Not only control freaks, but people who indulge in executive lawlessness. And that is not a good thing, Sherrod. And I'm glad that you continue almost every night to carry through these programs, talking about these injustices, these inequalities, discriminatory treatment. It is going to enhance our democracy. And I would urge that you, apart from getting a name for your Tuesday night program, that you reading the news to a lot of people, because quite frankly, a number of the things that you do hear talking about what is in the headlines of the Starbuck News and so on, a lot of people don't know because they can't afford to buy newspaper.
Yeah, yeah,
But they
yeah.
could listen
Things
to you
rough.
on Facebook.
Things rough.
Things,
Things
yeah,
rough. And if
they can't even buy
and if it's
paper.
a choice between buying little data to listen to Duncan and Khemraj and the others, and buying some of these newspapers don't even what the papers printed on. So they can buy little data. I hope Digicel and GTT listening and perhaps sponsor this program.
No, well, yeah, they should, because it is helpful to them. So no, that these are important matters, and I am glad that you're doing it. A lot of other,
Khemraj, just
yeah.
before you go, I know over the weekend you would have been in Region 3 as part of that outreach, talking to the people, which is the most important thing in politics as a politician, as a member of parliament, listening to the concerns of people, taking those concerns to parliament, being part of the development of policies and programs and so on for their benefit. What are you hearing, or what did you hear as you moved about in Region 3 over the last weekend? How are the people doing?
They're not doing very well at all. As a matter of fact, they're doing pretty badly. This COVID has created tremendous economic strife for the ordinary Guyanese. People have been critical of their condition throughout. And I stopped in a couple of places, myself and Ricky. We went there. And a number of people, especially the older people, and some of the younger people.
I think you got as far as Wickenham.
Yes, we went to Wickenham, and the people there are indicating that even their children's education is on the line because schools opening. The children are at home. You got to find things for them to do, food for them to eat, this and that and whatever, and it is pretty rough. Because it is an agricultural area and so on, they manage to plant their things and so on. But they're saying a number of things have gone up: gas and the food items, the electricity. They find that I don't know what and what else they don't find difficulties with, and a number of them also across the country that we have gone to have indicated that, especially the older ones that used to get these what you call it, remittances from America.
Yes, things slow up.
Yeah, that thing's slow up. I mean, we used to get about $100 million US per annum, or about 90.
I used to get a little too, but things slow up.
Yes, and the thing is literally halted.
Hope my family listening.
Making their lives real difficult. I know in quarantine there are a lot of my relatives and so on.
Oh yes.
bank and some money's coming in from America for them. All of that now halt up because of the fact that even in America, the economic strain is stress and strain is hurting them over there, and tremendous unemployment and so on. So it is not easy, and a number of them are now comparing our administration to what they have here. And they're saying, boss, it's chalk to cheese, in the sense that we are cheese and they're the chalk. The PPP that, yeah.
Great. Khemraj, thanks for the time. We have come to program time, a little past it. Thanks for this fight this evening, for stepping in the ring, having the testicular fortitude and the intellectual aptitude, stepping in the ring, sir.
Thank you very much, and have a good night.
Same to you, sir. Folks, this is Khemraj Ramjattan, leader of the Alliance for Change, member of Parliament, who has joined us this evening and has walked us through so many issues. As we go, as usual, y'all wear your masks now, sanitize your hands, and social distance, and share the live stream while y'all at it. Right? We don't ask y'all for much. As if y'all sell anything, yes, things stop. We'll accept it. I'll accept it. Right? I won't want y'all feel bad. We will accept it. But share the live stream. Thanks for joining us, folks, and do stay safe. See you guys tomorrow evening. Thanks for joining.